It's not all parades and pony rides for these guys. Hey, I am Chuck the bureaucrat, and I argue that if you want to be successful in the Pentagon, you have to understand what other people are experiencing and have some level of sympathy for their troubles. And it might surprise you that general officers working in the Pentagon, they have hard jobs. I know, it doesn't look like they do, but stick with me and you'll see what I mean. And remember, we're talking about the people who shape your career, so it's not a bad idea to understand what they value and what they hate. Okay, here's the first thing to understand about general officers. They're a lot like a fraternity in that they pick their own membership. Granted, there are some external forces that influence promotion and assignment, but that move from colonel to 1-star, it's recommended by a whole cadre of general officers. Now, before you get concerned about any problems that selection process might cause, bear in mind that general officers very often have to coordinate across time, space, and organizations under incredibly stressful conditions. So it makes sense that senior general officers have a say who joins their rank. And in that regard, it's not much different than how NCOs pick which soldiers are going to become sergeants. But the real reason that I say general officers are like a fraternity is because a brand new 1-star, they're like a plebe or a pledge. He's the fresh man in the building full of seniors, and he is going to do what he is told. Now, the other reason that a general officer's job is hard is because there are some things that can only be done by a general. Trust me. The general officers are going to delegate as much as they can down to the colonels, but there are just some things that don't roll that far down the hill. Diplomacy, ceremony, industry, political matters. And just as a note, one of the reasons that people often think general officers have an easy job is because they're most likely to be seen in these ceremonial roles, and general officers are good at putting on a diplomatic face for those situations. Another reason that I say general officers have hard jobs is because, especially the junior ones, they're often assigned to positions that expand their understanding of the service. Sometimes there is a synergy between the new job and previous jobs, but it's not uncommon at all for a new job to be distressingly unfamiliar. Part of this is by design. I mean, we want to broaden and develop our senior leaders, but it can also happen by chance. When one general officer retires unexpectedly, it can echo through the ranks, and it's not uncommon for someone to end up in an unfamiliar position just because of bad luck. And this all leads to what really is hard about being a GO. General officers are held uniquely accountable for the decisions they make. I know, all leaders are accountable for their decisions. But what I mean is that when the American people or Congress demand justice because of some military fiasco, what they want to see is a general officer's head on a spike. There is a classic, ancient story of this thirst for general officer blood. During the Peloponnesian War, a Spartan fleet captured a city that was allied with Athens. Now, Athens didn't actually have a very good navy, but they slapped one together to go break the blockade. Even though the Athenian fleet was inexperienced and tactically inferior to the Spartans, its commanders were able to circumvent this problem by employing new and unorthodox tactics. And so the Athenians secured a dramatic and unexpected victory. But during the battle, 25 Athenian triremes were sunken, and so there were hundreds of Athenian sailors adrift at sea. The Athenian commanders had a choice. They could either chase the fleeing Spartan fleet, or they could rescue the sailors adrift. And so they made a logical decision. They split their force. A large portion chased the Spartans, while a smaller force stayed behind for the rescue operation. Unfortunately, a storm blew in. That pushed the rescue force back, and it resulted in most of the sailors drowning. In Athens, there was a bitter debate over who was responsible for failing to rescue the sailors. Ultimately, 6 of these generals were tried, convicted, and executed for making a decision on the battlefield that at the time was the most appropriate one to make. Now, general officers aren't walking around worrying that they're going to get executed because of their decisions, Rommel. But they are well aware that a successful career could collapse overnight even if they were making the best possible decisions. So what? So generals have hard jobs. What could that possibly mean for you? Well, if you work in their orbit, it's important that you realize that they are part of a close-knit network of many other generals that you may never actually see. Their time is consumed by important distractions. They're probably ill at ease with many of the decisions they have to make, and they're acutely aware that any misstep could have serious negative consequences for their career. They need you to put as much time on their clock as you possibly can. Take care of as much as you can. When you brief them, focus on the decision that they have to influence and respond to their questions quickly and clearly. They need you to create and preserve decision space. Find alternatives, keep windows of opportunity open, never forfeit a decision, and keep them aware of any deadlines that are approaching when options start to expire. And finally, don't make this harder than it has to be. Don't stir up drama in the office for them to moderate. And certainly, don't create conflict between them and another general. If you want the power to influence decisions about the distribution of resources inside the bureaucracy, you have to influence the executives who are making those decisions. And you do that by recognizing the unique and daunting challenges that they have to face. And now, go watch this video to learn more.